this is just to show how to remove the door card on the Lotus Elan. So the first thing I do is to remove this panel and the lower panel. Now mine are fitting with Velcro, and that's because I've got some aftermarket panels. You will find yourself with carpets by default, so you'll have to peel off the carpets and re-glue them with contact adhesive, or you can put some Velcro on them as well, just like I've done. Now the second thing to remove is here, the triangle piece. To remove this one, you need to open the flap for view. Let's see if this works better. You can see that screw there, so remove that screw. And now push the door lid open to remove this trim piece, which isn't too hard to remove.
Just requires a bit of technique.
Now the little triangle over there, you just need to push it outwards a bit and then upwards, because these ones are stick with this, which is not quite a Velcro, but it works similarly to a Velcro.
Okay, now
to the tricky bit. Let's see if we can get a good angle on this. There is a screw behind the door lock mechanism. This one is the one that usually breaks when being removed. Now I've removed this without breaking it in the past, so I'm going to give that a go again. So what I use is one of these kits of precision screws, and I take one of the 2-3 smallest ones to use this. So I take the second smallest one and I just try to prise it off from the top gently. Well, as gently as possible.
Okay, so I've changed to use the smallest of them all, see if I can get access.
But the idea is that I bend the plastic outwards and then force it out. Well, as you will see eventually. Of course, as soon as I try to do this in the camera, it's harder. Okay, there we go. So I've managed to peel it slightly off. Hopefully you can see that. So I have the screw behind now. So I'm just going to run along the other screw a tiny bit and peel it off just bit by bit until it pops, which should not be long now. Okay, so I've got one side. Usually one side is enough, but sometimes you need to do it from both sides. And because I'm on camera, I'm definitely have to do the other side as well.
There you go, it's starting to come out. Okay, just forcing it a bit. It's almost coming out. So I'm going to pick up a bigger screw, so that it has a little bit more resistance. And
okay, there it is. It just came off. So it clicked when it came out. But as you can see, this can be removed without breaking it. So the thing important to remember is that there's these two. This is the shape of it, right? So if you try to prise it off from wherever the strongest bit is, so at the top in this case, you probably can keep them. If you pull it from the bottom, you're most likely to break it. So yeah, this is how to remove the red or orange clips without breaking them. Now if yours have been there for 20 years without anything, without being touched, they will break just because they're too dry, but mine have been replaced only once and then I've always been able to reuse them. So now we got access to this screw. Okay, so we got the screw out and we can remove the plastic trim. And that is the hardest bit of the job. So now the rest of the screws are not really in any particular order. So I'm going to start with these two here, inside of the door handle panel.
Now mine have been replaced with longer screws, so I had to use a nut, but you may find that yours are shorter. But I just replaced with what I have at the moment in the garage. Okay, that just fell out, but that's okay because we're removing the door cards.
We will be retrieving it later on. So then there's these three. Whoa. There's these three screws. There, there, and there. Okay. The next thing that I'm doing is the three screws behind the middle panel, the upper smaller panel. So that one and those two.
One important thing to note is, if your screws start spinning, just replace them. So I will be replacing these because they're starting to not really catch. And having a magnet with your screwdriver, it's rather helpful. So
Here's to the final part, which is the bottom part of the trim. Now mine isn't the one that comes from the factory because I've replaced every single one of these screws. So in your car you're going to find out Phillips heads, or you may find things like that, just a hole with a random screw in place. So because you haven't noticed, I'm pointing at this and I have a really bad camera angle. Okay, so I'm pointing at there. So yeah, it depends on what kind of hooligan had your car before. But I've replaced every single screw, so mines are now different bolts, which will be pretty easy to remove. Because I went through that effort. Okay, all my bolts are out. And now to remove There's no more bolts or screws to be removed. So now the technique to remove it, it's pretty straightforward. You just grab it by the two edges and lift it up and out. And there it is, it comes out. So the only thing that I'd like to point out now is why I've replaced these. So these nuts, these are supposed to be roll nuts or plastic enclosed nuts. So what you're supposed to use is some of these to replace them. And I have tried to do that in the past, but I found myself with these always spinning. So I've replaced them with riv nuts, metal riv nuts, which people have advised me not to because this is fiberglass. And the truth is, if you really squish this against fiberglass, you just crack the fiberglass and break it. And you can see this one, there's a couple of cracks around it. So when I try to press it in place, I damage the fiberglass. But if you're careful enough, you can install them without damaging anything, like this one, for instance. Something else to note is these are also riv nuts on the top, but here I need a better tripod for this. Okay, so this is also a roll nut, but here what we have is a bracket behind which holds the two nuts. They're not even nuts, they're actually threaded into the bracket. And if this bracket is loose or anything, you may need to remove the rivets and then put new rivets in place. And that's it. That's how to remove the door cards on the Elan. I don't think there's anything else needed to say about this. Nope. So yeah, that's it. I hope that's enough for you to remove your door cards. Putting them back together, it's just the reverse procedure. So very straightforward.